Okay, so I will play the video, and then at the end we will open to any questions. Hello, middle school community. This is Mr. Lal here, and tonight we are going to present our plan. I'm going to go through this quick video highlighting our daily schedule, some classroom procedures, some safety procedures, just to give everybody awareness of what our schedule and how our September will look as the plan stands now, which is currently shared through the Board of Education meeting on Tuesday and is at the county level as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is our class schedule. We will, if you take a look here, we will be running half days. These are the schedule for Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. These half days will run periods. We're going to divide the students into two teams, an A team and a B team, to reduce class sizes and to, emphasize social distancing. We will be running on Mondays, periods 1, 2, 3, as it shows, and then Tuesdays, periods 4, 5, 6. And that will be for the A team. And then on Thursday, we will be running periods 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the B team. Our PE health will be done via Google Classroom on outside of the 8 to 12 parameters of the half-day schedule presented here. And once again, this is for Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. Students will be screened as they enter the building, but we will talk more about that in a moment. On Wednesday, we will run a straight half-day schedule, as shown on the screen here. Periods 1 through 3, we'll have a little break in the middle, then periods 4, 5, 6, and then PE health with at the grade level on the distance learning as well. So as we scroll down, we see some guidelines here for school arrival. Our students are going to be arriving at from that 8 o'clock to 8:30 homeroom and screening time. They will be lining up distanced at 6-foot distance markers in our building in these following locations. The 8th grade will line up from the front back here. We will have tags all the way around here for half of the 8th grade on Monday and Tuesday, the other half on Thursday and Friday. And they will be screened as they enter the building, and then they will walk to their homeroom as they get screened and have a seat with their backpacks. 7th grade will do the same here, and they will be lined up up the driveway along here. And then the 6th grade will do the same over here, and they will be lined up along the driveway and around down this sidewalk here. So in dropping off, if you have a 6th or an 8th grader, it's probably best to drop off the 8th grade on the circle here. 6th graders are probably best to be dropped off on this circle in here. And then the 7th graders dropped off up here on Rose Place. All right, so the next guidelines are the illness guidelines. And so just to cover, if a student while screening has 100 or above fever, they will not be coming into the building. We will have a tent set up outside and have a parent pickup. So anybody who has that situation will not even be able to come into the building in the morning. We will also be sending out a Google Doc where a Google form each morning where parents will be asked to take temperature before they have and record it before they have their students head off to school. If a student happens to become ill while at school, they will be assessed by our nurse. Parents may be contacted for student pickup based on the assessment if there are any of the indicators such as fever for possible COVID, then parents may be contacted for student pickup. Individuals will be asked to wait in our media center, which will serve as a quarantine area. And based on the symptoms, families will be required to have a test for COVID and provide the documentation of results from their doctor to the school nurse. No one will be permitted back in the building without this. In the event of a positive COVID result, the health department will be notified, contact tracing procedures enacted, and self-quarantine notices sent as needed. Okay, next topic we won't need to go over are hallway traffic and flow. We have designed our plan so really there's 3 periods in the day, and there would only be 2 possible switches during the day. On any one given day. And the only people that are going to be leaving their room and going through the hallway are individuals who are going to their elective courses. All the core classes will occur in the student's homeroom. They will stay in the same period. But they will move twice in those 6-period rotations. And that will be done in this graduated kind of way, where students working with teachers in the elective courses will have some time to make sure that they spray down their desks and give it some time for the solution to work, and then we'll be wiping off their desks. Using the overhead, the loudspeaker in the building, students will be released to their next class as that goes. And we will have distancing markers on the floor for students to be able to walk through. We are not going to hand out lockers. We do not want students stopping in the hallway. So students will be able to carry their backpacks with them, and they will be able to store their backpacks under their desks or under their seats. We will only have a maximum of 15 people in each room, so we should be good. Most of the time it'll be less, between 10 to 15. Okay, we go on. This is just a little diagram of how the markers will be placed at 6-foot intervals through the hallways for our building. Classroom expectations. As we said, classroom sizes will be 10 to 15 individuals. All desks will be distanced at 6-foot distances. All students and adults will be required to wear a mask at all times. If the room has tables, all the students will be placed at the tables facing the same direction appropriately. The rooms are currently being set up in the building for this. Students are to be mindful of keeping materials under their chairs. Sharing supplies or borrowing items from peers is not permissible. If students use any class materials, they will be sanitized, working in coordination with the custodial staff and CDC guidelines. If any member of a class sneezes, coughs, or requires the use of a tissue, they are required to sanitize their hands using the stations provided in each class. This must be enforced and modeled by us all. Students will only be permitted to leave the room individually to use the bathroom. The professional staff will stagger the release of students for elective classes to ensure proper distancing as they move on to the next room. This will be done where those students closest to the exit will leave first, and individuals closest to the windows will exit last. When in distance learning, students are required to keep their camera on to ensure engagement. If a student refuses, the administrative staff will work with families to create a plan for this to possibly occur. We do understand that there are extenuating circumstances, and it is important for us to work with families. Classroom structure. So this is a rough image of how the class is going to look like as the students come in. We're going to have, 3 rows of 5 desks. There will be barriers. This is a little bit misleading. These barriers will be placed on the desk. I had to put them outside the desk so, you could see them there. And they're basically just, plastic kind of barrier covers where a student sits and kind of protecting from the front and the sides. And having this down the middle will kind of protect these side rows as well. The teacher will be up front at the board These are the doors, and this over here is basically where the sanitizing station is going to be. We're going to try to keep that as uniform as possible throughout all the rooms. Technology guidelines. Students are obviously to bring their Chromebook fully charged to school on a daily basis. Students to be mindful of transporting devices to and from school. Obviously, we do have a contract for repair, but if something is damaged and beyond repair, families are, required to replace any of these items, just as a textbook would be replaced. A little bit more expensive though. Since every student has a district-issued device, our BYOD policy, which was afforded to the 8th graders, is no longer going to be in effect this year. All individuals will be required to leave any personal digital device in their backpack while in school. All handbook guidelines will apply to ensure that the personal devices do not become an educational distraction. Health PE guidelines, as I said before, our health PE classes will occur in a distance learning environment to maximize student safety. All PE health classes will include social equity as well as social emotional learning component. This will concentrate on the concept of perspective and the fact that fair is not always equal. All activities will be designed to promote healthy movement, mindfulness, and well-being. Band chorus guidelines. Students will be appropriately distanced and required to face the same direction in rows. While live, students will practice using note tracing patterns and lessons will be designed around music theory. Any instrumental practice will occur at home and shared through Google Classroom. Chorus classes will be entirely digital and conducted in a similar manner to the other extracurricular activities. Students will be required to attend via Google Meet during afternoon sessions based on the schedule created by the instructor. This is Bernstein. Art and STEM guidelines. Students in art and STEM classes will not be able to share any supplies or tools. Typical collaborative nature of these classes will be modified to minimize transfer of pathogens. A list of items may be required for students to bring with them for live instruction, and students will work independently on daily tasks. Any needed items will be communicated through Google Classroom, and teachers will give students sufficient time to procure items. If teachers offer supplies, these will be transferred using a touch-free method, and students will be the only individuals to handle any supplies or individual project they are working on. Any school-owned supplies will have to be properly disinfected before another student can use the items. The disinfection process will be done in coordination with our custodial staff and following the CDC guidelines. Nightlife advisory. Advisory will be posted through the use of Google Classroom by our counseling staff on a grade level basis. Students will also have a link to connect with an adult in the building and set up individual Google Meet sessions if needed. Activities will be tailored to focus on issues of social equality, perspective, and mental health for our students in these trying times. The counseling staff will design activities to capture the pulse of our students as individuals and continue to give our pupils an adult advocate in the building. Exiting the building. Grade levels will be released using the PA system on a staggered basis. The 6th grade who have their core subjects on the first floor will be called first. These rooms are typically closer to an egress and will ensure that individuals will be able to exit the building in an efficient manner. 8th grade will be released second. Finally, our 7th graders will be released. All students will use the exit that is closest to their room to reduce traffic in the building at the end of the day. All after-school activities will be conducted digitally to assist our custodial staff in having appropriate time to sanitize the building for the next day. Extracurricular guidelines. After 3 p.m., all club sessions will be facilitated through the use of Google Meet in a remote fashion. Live community or after-school activities will be suspended to give our staff the necessary time to disinfect the building each day. Some bus guidelines here. I am going to forego talking about that because Dr. Perot will be discussing bus guidelines. Lunch guidelines. We will be running a half-day schedule for the opening of school. Each class will be an hour in length. Lunch will not be part of this schedule for September. A boxed or bagged lunch will be available for families to order via online services only. Student pickup will take place at the end of the day and will be done through the DEO school cafeteria. Building sanitation guidelines. All touch points to the building must be sanitized daily. This includes door handles, toilets, sinks, desktops, computer keyboards, and any high traffic surfaces. Every room must be equipped with a hand sanitizing station for student and staff use. Each room must be fogged daily. Flex time for custodial staff so cleaning can occur during the school day. Flex time meaning we will have more than one custodian in the building while students are present. Every building egress and hallway should be equipped with a no-touch sanitizing station, which means our two main entrances will have no-touch sanitizing stations, the front and back as pictured before. All sanitizing solution will have the minimum 60% alcohol as listed in the ingredients. Whenever possible, doors will be propped to reduce touch points. Signage will be displayed in every hallway reminding students of social distancing guidelines and hand washing procedures. Signage for traffic flow will also be installed on the hallway floors. And that really runs through all. Okay, I wanted to stop there just to make sure that we get to all the questions that we possibly can. Mr. Coughlin will be answering some of the questions in the chat as best he can, and I will go through the questions from the Q&A. The preschool children for the Over the Moon, which was the first question, or full-time, is going to be covered by Dr. Perot, but we are thinking currently that they are not going to be full-time. One of the next question is there an isolation room where ventilation system that is OSHA approved? Our quarantine room is going to be our media center, which does have air conditioning in the event that anybody does fall ill while we are in the building. Contact tracing will occur through the town and in coordination with the health department and the nurses. Mrs. Natal is on here as a panelist. If she had anything else to add, she could.
Thanks, JR.
Yes.
Yes, no, so what you're saying is absolutely correct. And I'm looking at some of the questions in the Q&A as well. And, you know, I am seeing some of these questions sort of fall into buckets. So I just wanted to, you know, just let you know that I'm here and everything you're saying is 100%. We are working in tandem with the health department. Any of the protocols that we have put in place, whether a student has been exposed or a staff member has been exposed, whether there's a diagnosis, whether there's a diagnosis and no symptoms, whether there are just symptoms, there are protocols which follow each of those. And we will, the school nurse is Donna Singoli, who's been having some communication difficulties as well since the storm, unfortunately, is called. She's listening in, but she's not able to be on screen. So she apologizes for that. But all of those things will be handled in conjunction with the protocols from the Department of Health and with the CDC guidelines.
Thank you, Mrs. Natal. Students' temperatures will be taken as they enter the building. As explained in the presentation, we will have, I'm told they look almost like iPads that will take 1 second to read the student's temperature as they enter. As students are waiting, it's socially distanced in the appropriate areas as indicated on that map. We are going to ask if it is inclement weather, if it is raining, that our students do bring an umbrella and as much patience as possible is out there. Because if we were to have tents large enough for everybody, I don't think it would be, we could have them socially distanced as they enter the building. So that is something we all need to be cognizant of and aware of. You know, Mr. Coughlin, myself, and our school resource officer will be checking the students in on a daily basis. Another question, will they be using lockers? Lockers will not be issued at the beginning of the year. Students will be allowed to carry backpacks and have their things, all their things underneath the lockers. Question, if we decide to opt in fully to remote learning, would there be an option for in-person learning later on in the year? That is definitely going to be the case, but the exact timeline on that is going to be outlined in a board policy. Mrs. Ryan had spoken to that last night at last night's board meeting, and they are reviewing board policy with Strauss Esme currently to find out whether it's going to be a marking period that they can enter or a semester. So we will await further guidance on that question. Will all students who have a fever be in the same area? Putting a student with a fever due to COVID and a student who has a fever due to a tooth infection in the same area may not be fair. They might need to be separated individually. Mrs. Natal, my understanding is our media center is a pretty sizable place, and we plan on distancing them at 6 foot intervals when they are in there as well. And they aren't going to be conversing, obviously, and they will be wearing a mask while they're waiting, which will reduce or minimize any type of transition of germs. Is there anything else to add on that, Ms. Natal?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Dalala. So, the nurses will be assessing the patients prior to entering either the clean or what we're going to call clean or dirty room, right? So if it is an instance where a student has a sinus infection or a toothache of that nature, we'll assess that to the best of our ability prior to putting them in the location where they'll ultimately end up. So if we really feel like the symptoms that we're seeing are more due to COVID-related or flu-like symptoms, they'll be put in a different situation or in a different area than, say, somebody with a toothache. That's not a dirty situation; it's a clean situation, so they could be put with other students in a separate area.
Thank you, Ms. Natal. Books should not be carried. Will all materials be I apologize, it just moved on me. Will all materials be via Chrome be accessible? There will be some books that will be handed out in a couple of the classes, and it will be a mix of Chromebook usage as well as books, but each individual student will have their own book if that is the case. When will 100% remote learning information be given? That will go out with Ms. Odoxta. It will be sending that out as soon as the official document or district plan is shared. Can a student stand while working at their desk? Obviously, there is some time, and we do have some of our middle school students have the need for movement, and there will be flexibility in that area. What will happen? I'm sorry, what will happen to the class teacher if the teacher tests positive for COVID? It's a great question. So we plan on having 2 adults in each room. One of the adults will be working a Chromebook to stream the class and the teacher's lesson. So the individuals at home will be taking the class on a computer, and the individuals in the class will be taking it live. If in the event a teacher has to work remotely, that other individual will be there to cover that. So there is some backup there that's built into our plan. Because Bergen Community College has all the classes are online, the children do not wear masks all day. There is going to be a requirement when students are in the building that they will be wearing a mask. Part of the reason we had to take PE and health out of our schedule is just because we have one gym and there are 3 classes scheduled in there at a time, and there is no way that could be socially distanced. So we do not have the scenario where there will be heavy exercise or anything of that nature as Mr. Polizzi had mentioned last night, for individuals who were at the board meeting. Children obviously will have the right to take online classes. A Google form will be sent out to all families, and all families will have to decide whether or not they are taking online classes. Ms. Odoxa, does that basically cover that question?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I apologize that I'm short on video here. I'm still out of power. Yes, so we plan to publish the district recovery plan early next week. It will be posted on the website with some of the additional details, including options for families who will be choosing to go 100% remote for their child or children. And at the same time, you're going to be receiving an opportunity to register and commit to either a hybrid program, which consists of in-person instruction and online, or 100% remote. So those will be sent out to families mid next week.
Thank you, Ms. Odoxa. The next question, I've gotten no update on preschool. Are they going to be fully virtual? Preschool is not going to be fully virtual. There will be, you know, part of the time it will be live and part of the time it will be virtual. It will be in a hybrid. Dr. Perot will be having a meeting in reference to preschool. Ms. Odoxa, I believe it is next week. Is that accurate?
Yes,
okay.
the details for that will be posted and messaged to families via School Messenger.
Will there be any activities, school activities allowed, such as sports? We are going to conduct our clubs. All the clubs will be done in a remote basis after the school day has already occurred. I will be sharing out the club information, as always, to the students through announcements and announcements posted on our website, as well as emailing it to them. As far as our team sports club, that club will be the one club, unfortunately, that we will not be able to run for obvious reasons. If it is not safe to be in school for the whole day, will there be by sports in the schools, whether middle school or high school? I think that just kind of covered that that question. Will extra help be accessible? Yes, our teachers will have their extra help sessions. They will be digital through a Google Meet, and they will occur twice a week, and that schedule will be there to post that schedule for their students. I need my son to be in a cohort to allow him to walk home safely with his peers who live close, as well as meet his younger sister. We can say that our cohorts are going to be in line with the grammar schools. And if that is for some reason not happening, we ask that you reach out to us, and we will work with the grammar school to, you know, make that happen if that doesn't happen in any particular situation. Right now, any of our students from A through J will be in cohort A, and any of the students from K to Z will be in cohort B. And that is on the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. Will there be plastic desk barriers on the sides rows, or only the center rows? There will be plastic barriers on the center rows. If there is more than one center row in any one given classroom, then there'll be barriers on both of those lines of rows. And there is remote instruction in the afternoon that will be for PE and health. That was part of the other question. How often will DEOM students whose parents opt for in-person education receive it? Students will be in person twice a week. If they are in the cohort, they will be coming cohort A, they will be coming Monday and Tuesday, or if they are in cohort B, they will be coming in Thursday and Friday.
Can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. I'm trying to keep up as best I can in the chat, but as you can see, I also have no power, so I'm streaming this on my computer while using my cell phone as a hotspot. So I'm keeping up as best I can. If we don't answer a question, I promise we will save all of this and we will put out a follow-up to anything we miss. I know Mr. Dalal and I talked about that earlier. There are a ton of quality questions in the chat. I'm doing the best I can to keep up in here. Just know we will try to answer everything we can. So I promise I'm going to now mute myself and go back to typing. But nice to see everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. Thank you very much. Are we still supplying the list school supplies? The school supply list is remaining the same currently. None of the teachers have stated that it needs to be different in any way. If that does change, we will send out word. Well, every once in a while, as soon as I'm reading a question, it moves. I apologize about that. How will the ventilation work if there is no HEPA filter? The ventilations have filters. Mr. Piero explained this, that we will increase the amount of times we are changing the filters on all of our univents. And that will go from 3 times a year, which we currently do it, to 4 times. It will be done every single quarter. If there is any more specifics needed about the filters, you can email me separately and I will reach out to Mr. Piero, the head of building and grounds.
Mr. Dalala, just want to jump in real quick.
Absolutely.
As you are answering the questions, I'm going through and marking them off as though you've answered them live. So they're disappearing from the list, and I think that's why it keeps jumping. So I apologize.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the help. All right, excellent. What is the protocol for those students who frequently take off their masks? You know, when we deal with middle school students, you know, protocols are difficult in a sense that, you know, the human being in front of you and working with them to the best of our ability and working with their families to ensure that these things happen, and really finding out and talking to the why they're happening is very, very important. It's really an opportunity to talk about respect and talk about, you know, the collective community that we are at school, and something that we, you know, we welcome our whole staff as far as always being able to deal with. What about students with asthma? What is in place for these students? If a student has a medical excusal for a mask, not being able to wear a mask, then we will obviously, you know, honor that medical excusal, and we will work to have either a face shield or something else to ensure that individual and everyone around them's safety to the best of our ability. My son's an incoming 6th grader. When will I know musical instrument he has been assigned? They choose their musical instruments, and working with Miss Haddethauer, she will work with all of her band students in reference to that. And in speaking with Mrs. Haddethauer, students are in all likelihood going to keep their band instruments at home, and most of the practice and things that happen will be there. Students should begin to line up at 8 o'clock, and we will be screening from 8 o'clock to 8:30, and they will report directly to their homeroom, where they will stay in homeroom for their core subjects. Since we're only having 3 periods, there will be a real minimum of movement in the building. Textbooks will obviously will be available for remote learners to pick up in the event at the school office. I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting. Are kids going back to school full? The kids are obviously going back to school half day, and the day will you know, be from 8 to 12, and we'll be running 3 periods on one of the days, and the second 3 periods on the second day for Monday and Thursday. How long will the schedule be going on? It is hard to tell how long the schedule will be going on. If in the event we go fully distanced, We will be using the Wednesday virtual schedule of half-hour courses on a half-day schedule. And then obviously if we go back, that really depends. If we go back full-time, which I don't really envision being the case, at least at a minimum until January, from what I'm reading and seeing, then we would obviously be going back to our 18-period day if we were fortunate enough to be able to do that. Will every desk have a shield that look like just the center rows, and the shields will have sides to them. So, the protection will be around and afforded to the people on the sides of those shields as well. As I said prior, how will you decide? I kind of answered that. I gave the letters. In the interest of time, I'm going to have to move on to the next question. Will teachers be flexible with students who are on the virtual setting, especially if parent is not there to help? There is always that flexibility amongst our staff, and they are obviously going to work with families and do realize that this is not the optimal situation for certain families, and for any family, and we'll definitely be flexible in that. The groups are announced. We are going with A through J and K through Z for our cohorts A and B. You will also note that when we send out the schedules, which will be August 19th, on that schedule, it will indicate which cohort your child is on, cohort A or cohort B, or group A or group B. And those schedules will be emailed home on August 19th. Are all kids in one homeroom going to have the same schedule? The kids, this is very different for the middle school, and not really something that we typically do, but our students will be grouped as best as we possibly can. So they will stay together for the day for the most part. If a student decides to physically be in school, but let's say can't make it one day, can he choose to do virtual class that day that he is not physically in class, or will he be marked absent? Well, there will be a present for people who are live, and there will be a present for people who are virtual, because our system will make automatic phone calls, and that will cause families confusion. So if they are not present at school, they will be marked absent, yes. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't attend the virtual day and would be marked present for the virtual day in that cohort. And then there would obviously be a meeting if that was continuously happening for any specific reason, and we would work with the family in that case. If a child starts in person, can they switch to all remote? Once again, I'm gonna go to the board policy on that, and we're gonna have to wait to see what those guidelines are. I can't really answer that specifically at this time until seeing that policy. Are all the kids in one home? Oh, we answered that. Is there any information in regards to evaluations, tenure and non-tenure? Evaluations will be occurring, and we will be conducting observations. We have not had any word that procedure or procedures for evaluating our staff are changing in any way. What type of face mask will be required? For example, is the face mask sleeves, scarves, bandanas allowed? Ms. Natal, can you field that one, because I'm not 100% sure I would be able to answer that.
Of course. So the CDC guideline basically says that it's a facial covering. So what we're basically doing in New Milford is we're asking parents to send their kids to school in the coverings that they've been wearing up till now that they're comfortable in, and to have a spare with them always in their backpack. In the event there's a malfunction or breaks, you forget it, they lost it, they sneezed in it, whatever, we will have emergency backup PPE for them at school. But we do want them to be most comfortable in them, because they are going to be in them you know, for that part of the day. So facial covering can be, I don't know what they call them, gaiters, I think they call them. You can pull it up over your nose. It almost looks like a bit of a scarf, right, Mr. Dalala? And you pull it up over your nose.
Yes.
They also have, you know, obviously the traditional face masks they have really cool ones. Actually, we have New Milford Night ones that have filters in them. And, you know, you can wear a standard, it doesn't have to be a medical grade mask, you know, that is issued to us in the hospitals where, you know, we use medical grade masks. So a bandana can also be worn, although we want to provide, you know, the most protection for your children. So we would hope that, you know, they could get something, you know, that they're comfortable in, that's a gaiter or a cloth facial covering that's mask oriented, but mostly that whatever they're comfortable in.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Natal. And obviously they have to have their nose and their mouth covered, which is very important.
Right.
There was a question out there about all sports being canceled. I don't know the situation at the high school. Mr. Riccadelli had spoken to it last night. I didn't fully get that. We don't have sports at the middle school, so there aren't organized sports to cancel. But the intramural sports club, which usually happens before school and hopefully will again one day, that it will be put on hold for now. How do special education teachers, aides, and related services provide instruction with the 6-foot distance most required hand-over-hand assistance? That's a great question. They will obviously be masked and the student will obviously be masked. And in reference to the guidelines, when an individual needs that type of physical assistance, you know, they would, you know, be providing that physical assistance. So that would still, in fact, happen. And I know Dr. Perot will be speaking more about that at her meeting as well. Where special education students won't wear a mask or keep taking them off. And once again, we have had summer classes, and a lot of our students have been working on getting in a very good rotation and practicing that, and they have had quite a bit of success with that those pre-teaching kind of things that have been going on there. Will classroom aids be and is the preschool available in Berkeley School? Miss Laval, Miss Odoxta, are you aware of that? I'm
not really sure I understand the question. If whoever wrote that question could clarify, that would help.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can go back to that one.
Okay, great. Will there be peer tutoring? We do still have our National Junior Honor Society, and they will be conducting peer tutoring via virtual for our students, just as has happened in the past and happened in March. So we look to continue that program for our students. Fantastic program, by the way. Can we get a set plan for the preschool since it won't be fully virtual? What days? Once again, I think we're going to have to wait for Dr. Perot. She is working on those specific schedules with the numbers that are in those classes and how that is going to work. Will this recording be available to view when the meeting is over? Well, we will be sending out the plan. I will also, follow up that plan with the bulleted plan that I had went through when the meeting is over to share with parents. And as Mr. Coughlin had stated before, any of the questions that we do not get to, we will collect and make sure that we send out a document to all of our families answering those questions. How will power be supplied for Chromebooks in class? We really do stress, and I stressed in that plan, that technology portion is very important for our children to come with their Chromebook fully charged. We do plan to have the Chromebook carts located in the homerooms in the event of an emergency. But we're hoping, and we need to really train ourselves that that is to be an emergency, because we cannot have 30 students who come into, or any number of the students come in and say they need to have it be charged. I really only have time for a couple more questions. I will go through. I wish I could answer them all, but the high school will be using this link after us to cover their meeting, and we will do the best we can, as I said, to get those answers. Is this cohort A, J, and KZ be the same as elementary school and high school? The high school will be different. The high school, and as you go to that meeting, you will see they will not necessarily be on that schedule, but the grammar schools will be something like that. And then if in the event there is somewhere where that goes awry, because there are situations with student schedules and students' needs where that may happen, we ask that, families definitely reach out to us, and we will work with them to, make sure that accommodation happens. We need to do that for our families. Are there any specific instructions for special ed students? Is the schedule, the schedule is the same for our special ed students. There may be possible individuals that may be changing for, but we would reach out to those individuals if necessary. I am going to have to end it there, because we are coming to the time where we have to kind of pass it over to the high school. I just wanted to say once again that we will collect all of the questions and do our best to answer. I so appreciate the questions. The questions are wonderful, and they show the care and the love in our community, of which I am very proud to continue to be a part of. And just thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here, and we're gonna do our best to ensure that we all stay as safe as we can, staff and students alike. So thank you again, and I am going to have to end at this time.